Hello everyone, I hope this video meets you well. Today I want to talk about something I've always said before, okay? You see, in a situation when you have a nation that is not working, you look at the leadership of that country and you look at the followership. You see, these two must work together for that country to work. If the leadership are terrible and they are bad like we have in Nigeria today, the followership have to stand up to make sure that the leaders that they elect are transparent and they are working as expected. But you see, when we have these misplaced priorities, just as the leaders, the government, are misplacing priorities, doing what they shouldn't be doing at a time, all the things that they're doing, like the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road, like all the national anthem. Nobody said there's anything wrong with all those things. But what you need to understand is that there are certain things that need to come first before the other things will have to come. Those ones are not priority over human lives. You haven't got security in the country, but you are worried about national anthem. Food prices, cost of living are skyrocketing. You are worried about Lagos Coastal Road. There are certain things you need to put in place before you start doing things that are not that important. The number one thing you can do as a leader or as a government is to make sure that food is the cheapest commodity you can ever find in a country. Even countries that don't produce food, when you go there, you will discover that no matter how difficult things are, for you not to be able to have 3 square meal will be almost impossible. That is a working country. Okay? So in a country like Nigeria, we talk about how terrible our government is. But then we have the followership that sometimes misplace their priorities. And that is why today I'm talking to you about labor, I'm talking to you about NLC, TUC. If you and I jump on the street today and start protesting, before you know it, there will be soldiers everywhere. And if you're not careful, you will lose your life because of that. But these are the only bodies that can come out in groups and everybody will just be looking at them and nothing happens because people understand that whatever they are asking for it based on their rights. Okay? But it's a misplaced priority for you to be asking for salaries to be increased, for minimum wage to be increased. So if the minimum wage of Nigeria is in, let's assume they even increase it to 500,000 for every civil servant. One thing you need to understand, the moment you have a government that is not working, no matter how much they increase your minimum wage to, it is not going to work. And it's very simple because the same government that will increase your minimum wage are the same government that don't have power to control the prices of things. The moment your minimum wage goes on to 200,000, for example, every month for every civil servant, the first thing that will happen is rice will go to 250,000. So you tell me, what is the point of you having 200,000 when the rice automatically jumps to 250,000? Because that is what is going to happen. That is what has always happened in Nigeria. If fuel goes up by 10 naira, things will go up by 50 naira, and the Nigerian government have no answer to it. The moment people realize that money has been increased for civil servants, everything will go up by 500%. So what does that 200,000, what is it going to do for you? Rather than asking for 200,000, use the position you have as a very strong body that can come out and protest, that can come out and stop the whole airport not working, that can shut electricity down. And all you come out to do is to ask for 200,000 minimum wage. And you know that in this same country, those civil servants that we have in this country, I don't think they are up to 30%. What happens to the remaining 70% of people? What happens to those people selling, ordinary woman selling pepper in the market? What happens to the ordinary man selling meat in the market? What happens to the mechanic? What happens to the welder? Because the moment this money is increased, everything will shoot up. If you, with your 200,000, you are able to afford it, what happens to the ordinary person? They will not be able to afford it because Nigerian government has no control over anything. Everybody will basically just put price. Just like what happened when the dollar was going up. You go to the market, everything you touch, they will tell you dollar has gone up, dollar has gone up. When the Nigerian government, whatever they did abracadabra for just like 1 month, and that dollar came down to almost 1,000. All the things that went up never came down. They remain where they are. That is Nigeria for you. And the same leader that made the dollar to come down to 1,000 or 1,001, they could not go out to enforce people to make sure that they stick to. So everybody is doing whatever they want in Nigeria. So Labour, TUC, NLC, my beg for you guys is rather than asking for crumbs that is not going to work, ask for the big loaf of bread. Good governance. Come out there and let the government know that things are not working. Let's shut Nigeria down, not for minimum wage, but for bad governance. If you people jump on the street and talk about bad governance, you will be surprised the amount of Nigerians that will join you. But all you are doing is demanding for pay rise in minimum wage, which will not stop every other thing in Nigeria skyrocketing up before you know it. And then you are back to square one. Because if we don't have good governance, we will never, no matter how much your wages are being raised to, even if they raise your wages to 1 million, in a country that is not working, right, a bag of rice will enter 800,000 within the next 2 weeks. That's what Nigeria is. And we don't want to get there. And then the final thing I want to talk about on this channel regarding this labor strike, TUC and NLC strikes. The truth about it is that before you can have a strike, if you have a company and people are working in that company, if someone is earning 200,000 in a company, surely that person, the inputs of that person should be about 300,000 to 350,000 or double that person's salary. So out of 400,000, you remove 200,000, you give to that person. Then as a company, you are not losing. But the question I'll ask you today is, how many of our civil servants are actually working to then require such payments? How many of them? Because I can tell you today that out of 100% of our civil servants, 80% of them hardly even go to work. Many of them have their own businesses and their own things that they do, but they only just earn their salary. So where do you expect this money to come from? Is it the same money that they will be borrowing from abroad that you expect for them to also come, as they are sharing it, to also be sharing it for the civil servants without producing anything? 25, 30 years ago, I had friends in the north who never goes to work. Many of them work in local government, hospital. I have a friend that had about 2 hospitals who hardly does he stay in the general hospital. He's always in his own hospital, treating people. For him to go to the general hospital, he will have to be called. And when they called him, it takes him hours to get there because his own business is priority to him, not the federal government. But the federal government will still pay him despite he's got his own private hospital. I have friends at that time. They never go to work until 3 days. That time it used to be cash payments, not transaction by payments, online payments. it used to be cash payment. So you have to be physically present at the local government. That time, local government is still working a little bit. You have to be physically present to collect your money. They will not go to work for weeks. But when it's 3 days to their salary or 2 days to their salary, you will hear them talking about, oh, tomorrow Zai Albashi, Gobe Zai Albashi, tomorrow there will be payment. The salary is coming tomorrow, it's coming next tomorrow. And that's when they go to work. And these are the same kind of people that will be giving 200,000, giving 300,000 minimum wage when they don't actually produce anything into the community, but they will just be collecting this money every month. Do you think that is fair? So until we have a government, a working government that will make sure for every 200,000 you collect at the end of salary, you also input nothing less than 350. That is how a country, that is how a community grow. But not by everybody just collecting money and not doing anything. So Labour, NLC, TUC, what you should be fighting for is not just increased minimum wage. You should be fighting for good governance, transparency in governance, so that by the time you get that good governance, you will have your health, free health. Your transportation will be nothing out of the salary you take. And then when even your salaries are being increased, people cannot just wake up in the morning and increase their prices and the government are there doing nothing. So what we should be chasing is not only increase in minimum wage, because it is not every single Nigerian that is a civil servant. What we should be talking about is holding our leaders accountable, asking for good governance. And the only better way we can do it is through these bodies. Come out, ask for good governance, and Nigerian people that are going through pain and hell, we stand behind you and we can start demanding and getting that good governance that we all deserve. So I'll speak to you on the next video. We've just got to do this. It is very, very important. It's not just about increasing minimum wage. It's about the whole thing, holistically, everything. And what can only bring that is good governance. I'll see you on my next video. Thank you.